What up, YouTube? It's been a minute. So I was thinking recently about this cultural assumption that people have, especially educated people, and it's one of these things you hear so often. You just kind of take it for granted that it's true, but it's important to actually question whether what you hear all the time that's so embedded in your psyche is actually true, because it could be a very toxic and maladaptive belief to have. So what I'm talking about is this assumption that humans were basically on the brink of starvation for, hundreds of thousands of years since we evolved, basically, up until farming was invented, and that we're like pre programmed. So, yeah, this is someone on this internet forum. I used to go to it more, but like 90% of the people left, and it's kind of dead now. But I go on there every once in a while just to kind of like see what people are going on about. I don't really fit in there, but it's kind of a good like pulse of like the normie perspective, like normie middle age, like Anglo liberal type of people who still go there. Um so anyway, the way I was phrased by this individual is that we're pre-programmed to just consume all the food as quick as possible because a famine might strike us any minute. And I've read this in psychology books, like anthropology books. It just seems like common, like just plastered across the culture. And because you read it and it's said by so many educated people, you start to believe that it's true. Like, oh, well, we're just kind of meant to gorge when there's food because we could be starving any minute. But is that actually true? Ultimately, we don't know because we can't go back in time, 50,000 years to see how our ancestors interacted with the environment. I mean, did famine exist? Like, almost certainly. Did it exist more than for other wild animals? Probably, because human beings were constantly moving into new biological niche to got the laundry right above me. It's kind of nice, makes a little breeze when it spins. um yeah, when we would move into a new environment, oops, there's no guarantee that food would be easy and plentiful. Plus, humans were always fighting amongst themselves, splintering off into new groups, and dealing with challenges much more severe than having your phone just right to record a YouTube video. So, yeah, it was no joke back in the day. But were we programmed to like scarf food because we never knew when we were going to be starving? I mean, I kind of doubt it. Like, Native Americans know how to dry and preserve food. As long as there's been cooking, people have probably realized that if you cook food, it can keep a little bit longer. People probably realized pretty early in our history that if you salt food, you could preserve it. You could dry fruit and meat in the sun. Um, so, yeah, famines did happen, but famines were more likely to happen after agriculture, not before. So, this idea that like obesity and ill health and, you know, dozens of different food and eating disorders or disordered eating behavior is inevitable, I think is actually a bunch of BS propagated by the food industry to kind of so they can just like shrug our shoulders and be like, hey, personal responsibility, it's you guys' fault. But really, if you think about it, refrigeration came on the scene like, what, 80, 90 years ago? And all over the world as well. And you don't see the same, if it was just because, like, oh, well, refrigeration and food preservation and people can like raid their fridge at 3 in the morning. So, of course, like, society's going to become fat and unhealthy. Like, if that were true, then it would have started much earlier on in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. But it really didn't come on the scene until like closer to the 90s and 2000s, where you know, obesity exploded. So also in places like Japan, I mean, I don't have like any stats handy, but you could look for yourself. Sorry, I'm like in this habit. I don't have any dental insurance here in England, so I'm like constantly flossing my teeth with grass and whatnot. So if it's a little strange, keep that in mind. I like really can't afford to get a cavity right now. So um yeah, I just don't buy that we have this wiring to like scarf food. I think most of it is because we grew up on processed crap that makes us more susceptible to binging and um, also emotional problems and anxiety, and the fact that most people were not breastfed or sporadically breastfed, and we're just bombarded with advertisement 24/7 from when we're kids, like food is fun, comfort, treat yourself, like indulge, like follow what you crave, all of this. And yeah, our ancestors didn't have to deal with that. Did our ancestors like have feast and famine? Did they like, you know, if you kill a woolly mammoth, yeah, they probably did scarf it down pretty quick. But did they have the like food issues that we had today? And are the food issues we have today inevitable just because we can have a refrigerator and have food whenever we want? Like, I don't think so. Um, I mean, having food whenever you want, I think, is a toxic thing. I've been really feeling the best I've felt, which is not saying much because I've been in chronic pain for like 20 odd years, but the intermittent fasting thing has been great for me. I was scratching my low back, by the way. Um, so yeah, just cutting. I've been cutting off food like 5 p.m. and my sleep has been better. My resting heart rate has been lower. Um, yeah, and my cravings have been less actually. So don't buy this like pre-programmed BS that you may hear from otherwise intelligent people, because I just don't think it's true. I think that you know we have a lot more control than we think, and yeah, these beliefs that, oh well, having food issues and having like obesity and binging issues is inevitable. I think it's false, and I don't think that there's evidence for it. I'm not a scientist or an anthropologist, and I'm just a guy on YouTube. I'm not making you know gathering a list of references. This is my hypothesis. And I've also noticed anecdotally that, little subtle things make a huge difference. Like, for example, my girlfriend makes these super delicious, chocolatey, goopy protein bars. It's like coconut oil. I think she got the recipe off Instagram or something like that, but it's like coconut oil, protein powder. There's three layers. Like one of them's like a peanut butter layer, a coconut oil layer, and like flour layer with um oat, like grounds flour. She uses gluten-free flour like oat flour, rice flour, and peanut butter and chocolate. I just like said like five layers, but there's three layers. Anyway, I don't know how she does it. I just get to enjoy it. But I notice when she I'm like, they're so good, but they're like too good, and like I'm out of control. So can you make it with half the sugar? And I noticed when she made it with half the sugar, it was like a half cup of maple syrup for the whole recipe versus the second time she made it with quarter cup of maple syrup for the whole recipe. And I felt like it was just as good. It was really delicious, but like I had self control. When she made it with a half cup of maple syrup, I would like be back at the fridge. I would like eat until I had a stomach ache. But when she just a simple thing, just half the sugar, not even no sugar, nothing extreme. Um, I just was like, wow, I can eat it and enjoy it, and I could even crave it. I could be like, I want to have more, but just that little bit of less like sugar drug in my brain, I'm really like, no, I'm not going to have more actually, or I'll have more tomorrow. That's still problematic for me. So I asked her like, if you make it, just like hide it, like keep it in the freezer, like don't tell me you made it. And then she made it with like a quarter cup of maple syrup, like so like a quarter of or no, excuse me, she made it with like an eighth of a cup maple syrup, like so. Um, oh shoot, Chris. Well, I'm getting a call, but I'll take that in a second. Um, yeah, but that was like a little bit too sugar, too much less sugar. Although even that was still pretty good. And then the craving was even reduced beyond. But I mean, you can have fun in life. You can have sugary stuff, but just it's cool to notice. It's cool to notice how stuff affects you. And
Mommy, we're already here.
oh, good. All right. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now.